Hey, Tom Rabbit! I hope you got this for your recording. Hey, YouTube out there. Tom Rabbit likes to record these. Hey, Tom Rabbit!
Okay, look, Kason, let me try something else. I'll just throw out an argument. And
Sure.
so, do you agree that in order for something to exist, first it must be possible for it to exist?
Yeah, law of non-contradiction, right?
No.
No.
Wouldn't it be a contradiction for something to exist that can exist? Wouldn't that be a contradiction?
Well,
So yes, something would necessarily have to exist for it to be existable.
Well,
Like
we're
what?
talking about
No, the reverse. It would have to be possible for it to be existent.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
For something
No, you
to
said
exist,
you said it the other way, but yeah, I think you meant.
It must be possible for it to exist first.
Yeah, I thought that's what I said.
good enough.
Well, okay, whatever. So, according to you, and I'm not saying that you agree with everything Darth says, but it's probably likely that you will agree with most of the things.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think that you agree probably that it is the case that the Christian God instantiates and sustains all possibility and impossibility, correct?
Yes.
Wait, could I get a quick mic check? Is this any better?
Yeah,
But it
you
is
sound
better.
You sound great.
much better.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay, so just to be clear, so God instantiates all possibility and impossibility, and that was a yes, correct? Just so we're on the same page?
Yes.
Right. So did God instantiate the possibility that he exists?
No, God's eternal.
Okay,
So he doesn't need anything to exist. He just exists.
then it's
Because
not
if
the
he
case,
didn't, sorry.
then it is not the case that God instantiates all possibility and impossibility.
Outside of himself, he does. He's the non-contingent. So everything is contingent upon God, but he's not contingent upon anything, including himself. I mean, there's no other way it would be, because the law of cause and effect. You have to have something that causes something, and you can't go back in infinity because you can't. We already know these arguments. You can't traverse infinity. There is no beginning to infinity, so that doesn't work, right? It's a logical fallacy. So you have to have something in your worldview that isn't contingent upon anything. It just always existed, and it then implements contingencies upon everything else.
Okay, I think here's the two problems that you have right now.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is that you agreed that in order for something to exist, first there must be the possibility that exists. You're at odds with that right
Everything
now.
outside of God.
And
yeah.
secondly, you're at odds with the claim about God instantiates all possibility and impossibility, because it's not true, right? So both of those things that you signed off on are false.
No, I think I gave my justification for it. God does not have there's no explanation or contingent thing that happened to create God, because then you just keep going back. You'd say, okay, well then what created that? What created that? What created that? And that would be illogical. So you have to have something in your worldview that is ultimate. What it means to be ultimate, it means to be non-contingent. There is no explanation for it outside of it exists. And again, if you're going to contend with that, that's fine. But you're going to have to give me a rational justification for your worldview. You're going to have to secure your world somehow without that.
I'm presenting an argument, and there's two things that you seemingly deny. And if you deny them, that's fine. But you're telling me you don't deny them. Now, is it the case that God instantiates... is it the case that in order for something to exist, first it must be possible for that thing to exist? Do you agree with that? Is yes or no?
Yeah, I would say.
Well, you don't think that, because that doesn't apply to God. You do not.
Yeah, but
think
we're talking
that.
about.
You do not
we're
think
talking
that,
about.
Kason.
Yeah, but we're talking about outside of God. I mean, do you want to just preface everything with except God, and then we can talk?
Everything means all things. Every.
Yeah, but God is God. God creates all things. He's not he's not a thing in and of himself, I would say.
But he's a thing that exists.
Right, but there is the possibility that God exists.
it gets a
You
little
said
bit
it's
sticky.
not
Yeah,
that God instantiates that, right?
is it an interesting question? So you're saying, let me see if I can understand this. So you're saying, in order for something to exist, it has to be capable of existing. I don't even know. I'm not really even sure what that means.
No, I think
Yeah, it
you
has to be
know very
possible that
well
it
what that means.
exists.
You almost your first reaction to it was almost like duh, right? You was
Yeah,
like, yeah, I'm not gonna say something, of course, right?
yeah.
Something has to, right? So it's not something that you're not understanding. You understand perfectly well. So
Well, now this is the first time I've heard this argument, so I'm trying to be
okay.
good faith with you and just answer the question, but maybe I could have been
I mean, it's not a big
rash. I don't
deal
know.
if you want to like revise. I mean, like
Yeah,
it
I
to
could.
something
Yeah, but
else.
potentially. I mean, I'm just trying to think. It's a good question, but I have to like actually think about it because it is. I never heard this question before. So, but this is why I come here because we over there we get like layups. It's like these people come to us and they have no idea. They don't know the argument. Like they never heard a precept, and it's just like layups. And those guys are cool with that. But I actually want to be challenged. I want to learn. I mean, you guys could
Well, that's
get me
good.
and
Yeah, that's
post a
good.
clip and say, oh, whatever. I mean, I don't ever think you'll be able to defeat my worldview. But these are interesting questions that we can talk about.
Well, currently it's a defeater.
Mm.
Yeah, all your interaction with people elsewhere is going to make you soft. Hanging out and dealing with people the way Darth deals with people is going to make you soft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to deny some of the things that you signed off on, and you know what? If you want to think about that, go ahead. I would encourage you to do so. However, if and when you ultimately bring it to Darth and say they asked me this, and how do you answer it? I'll just say this, okay? I do not think he's going to give you a substantive response. I think in all likelihood he's going to say, Tom Rabbitt's a sophist. Don't listen to him. Don't talk to him. Blah blah blah. And he's not going to actually give you an answer. And that will be that being true or false will be borne out in the recording, right? But if it is the case that you ask him about it, if you are true to your word and you are trying to seek truth and actual responses, then you ought not be satisfied by a response like that from Darth Dawkins, right?
Well, I'm just trying to get better at the presuppositional argument. I mean, I know what truth is. I have truth. It's not that's what I'm looking for. I'm just looking how to overcome these objections. I'm trying to, this is like, I've literally been doing apologetics for like 2 months. So like, I've made a lot of progress in a very short amount of time. But this is why I'm here, because I know you guys have been doing this for a lot longer. I'm sick of going over there and getting layup. They come in, well, evidence. It's like, oh, okay, dude. Like I've rebutted this like 17,000 times. Like, what else do you guys have? And this is so can you? But I want to contend with this. So maybe I answered incorrectly for the first time. But so you're saying, in order for something to exist, it has to be capable of existing.
Has to be possible.
It has to be possible to exist.
What
right?
would be an example of like something that's impossible to exist, like something that's like contradictory?
Yeah, like a square circle.
Right.
Like a square circle. Okay. So and then how does this correlate to God?
Well, God exists, right? You're following? Do I have to? Do you want me to spell it out?
Yeah, God
anything
exists.
The premise was anything that exists, before it exists, has to be possible for that thing to exist. Now, God has this quality about him, and he does this instantiating of all possibility and impossibility, right?
Yeah.
So, presumably, God exists, and so the possibility of him existing has to be instantiated. But you can't instantiate.
That I would reject.
You can't instantiate the possibility of God. God can't instantiate the possibility that he exists without existing. But do you see the problem?
No, but I think I answer. I wouldn't even change my answer. I would say the same thing. Now I understand it better, but my initial instinct, I think, was good. It was that what you're saying is something would have to instantiate God to exist. Is that what you're saying?
If you sign off on that for something to exist, first it must be possible for it to exist. Yeah.
But
And for
now you're saying
something to
two
be-
different things.
No, it's the same thing. But and for something to be possible, it has to be sustained or instantiated. Something has to allow it to be possible or impossible. And you are committed to saying that God is the entity that does that for everything.
Yeah.
Except
himself,
which is what people call special pleading. Now, if you're okay with special pleading, I'm okay with you being okay with special pleading, but then you can't complain when other people implement special pleading. And I don't think you want to do that.
Well, is special pleading like a brute fact?
No.
Okay, what's special pleading?
It's saying that it's always the case except for this special case.
It's always the case except for this special case. Well, isn't
There's
that like what God is?
There's a certain rule that applies, but it doesn't apply to this.
Yeah, but that's like what God is. God is the rule maker. No, God is the rule maker. He is what makes things real or not real. He's what makes he's what sets like the laws of logic. So the fact that there can't be a circular square. Like this is what we try to explain to you guys is that when you guys try to appeal to like the laws of logic are an abstract.
Right.
Yeah.
So a square circle right now, it's impossible.
Well, for us, yes. But that's because it's imposed. Certain laws are imposed by God.
Right.
But in a different universe, in a different universe, there could be some situation that we can't conceive of because our minds are not biologically set up that way. Like, you know that like certain animals can see like different waves that we can't see. So the reason
Look, it could be this universe. God is the square circle in this universe, in our world, is not possible. But that's not possible because, according to your worldview, because God has made that to be not possible. God could make it possible, right? Because God is dictating what is possible and not possible, right?
Yes.
Therefore, therefore, a square circle can't exist. Now,
not in our world.
Now what you have to do is you can just like solve the problem, but you have to eject that like for something to exist, it must be first possible that it exists. So the next time Darth says that, you'll have to just correct him. That's
Tom, can you just do me one favor? I really would like to continue these conversations, but can we just like stop bringing up Darth? Like I'm a separate person from him. I understand that like I brought him like, you know, whatever, you guys have this connection and I have some affiliation with him, but can we just deal with like me? Like I think you can tell already,
that's
like
fine.
I'm not a Darth copycat. Like I don't.
But that's fine and everything. I understand what you're saying, and I'll try to do that. But let's not pretend like this has somehow been like foisted upon you. I mean, when you came in here yesterday, you self-identified as a Darth minion. So don't.
Well, no, you started asking
me
my affiliation with Darth. You asked me if I was a convert from Darth, and then I said no, and then you started calling me something, and I said, well, you can refer to me instead as a Darth minion. So I was just playing along, but I'm just saying in general, if we could just like try to bring, because he's not here, and it's like just weird. I don't know.
Okay,
like what's the point? Like let's just me and you talk.
So anyway, you're gonna have to fix it. There's some things that you signed off on and said yes, I agree with that premise. And now you're in conflict with that, so you're gonna have to just.
Can you like show me that? Like I don't see that.
Yeah, you said that in order for anything to exist, it must first be possible that thing possible.
And what was my answer? And what was my answer to that?
Yes, you agreed.
Yeah, but then So, I still don't see how that's like a defeater. Like I don't.
Because you don't think that applies to because God.
It doesn't apply to God. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not everything that exists. First needs the possibility to exist. That's not the case.
But if you're gonna take, it's fallacious reasoning, because if this is the case, then something always needs to substantiate something else. So that would mean the cause and effect relationship would result in, like I said before, an infinite regress, which is a logical fallacy. So something.
Not a logical fallacy.
An infinite regress is not a logical fallacy.
No.
Correct.
Is there a Is there a beginning Is there a beginning to an infinite regress?
No.
No, exactly. So how could you have cause and effect? What caused it?
An
What?
infinite chain
Just
of
an
cause and
argument.
It
effect.
infinitely
Yeah, but
regresses.
what caused that?
A
What
cause.
caused that
Infinitely
to become?
regresses.
No, that doesn't
Another
work.
cause. Another
That doesn't work.
cause. Another cause. What do you mean?
What's
How does
that?
it
So
not
what
work?
caused that? So what caused that cause?
Another
Yeah.
cause.
Another infinite
Yeah.
regress? And then
Another
what caused
cause.
that cause? You see, so you just
It's weird
you just keep
because
going back, and you
because
keep
we're
reversing
talking about
infinity.
we're talking about an infinite. Look, we're talking about an infinite regress, and like when you were talking about the concept of infinity, you were saying like there's not going to be a starting point. But when you keep asking what caused that, you're essentially asking for what is the starting point, right?
Yeah.
Which by your own lights is nonsensical. Why are you doing that?
No, but because cause and effect is within time, space, and matter. So in order for you to start that process, you have to be outside of that. That God does not conform to laws of logic, to laws of nature. He imposes them. He's outside of them. And that's clearly displayed in his revelation. I mean, that's clear. He couldn't create something that he's a part of. Like he couldn't create something that he is restricted by. Like you think God has like restrictions? Is that what you're saying? Because that's not all powerful. If God can't do something, that's not all powerful.
Now you're talking about the God worldview, but I thought your criticism about the infinite regress was like an internal type critique. But now you're just saying this view about an infinite regress is not right because it's not the God view. Is that what you're saying? Look, I mean, case on.
No, I'm saying that if
I'm
you
fine
are
with you
going to
thinking about it. I mean, you don't have to like
hold
come
on,
up
but
with
just give me
something.
5 seconds to respond. I was thinking about it for 2 seconds. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to actually be good faith. So just I'm thinking about it. But what I was going to say is, you are trying to use the infinite regress as a defeater for the Christian God, and saying that in order for something to exist, it has to be instantiated, if that's the correct pronunciation, by something else, right? So you're saying that this is a conflict, this is a contradiction, which thus disproves God. So then what you're saying by doing that is you're implicitly saying that this could be how our universe exists. And what I'm saying is that an infinite regress is not logical. It's a logical fallacy, and it doesn't work.
I'm doing a criticism of the
Wait, what fallacy
God
is it?
view.
Yeah, but if you're going to do that, you'd have to give me grounds of your worldview. You can't just borrow my worldview and then critique it.
That's what.
This is what Bonson talks about in his book.
Yeah, pushing the antithesis, right? Yeah, I get it. But the problem is that if there's a look, I can borrow from look. I'm drinking your milkshake by your lights. I'm using logic. I think logic is a thing. You think logic is a thing. I'm going to drink your milkshake. You call that borrowing your worldview? You can call it whatever you want. But the fact of the matter is that under your view, I can borrow from your worldview, and I will never, ever be able to show there's a logical problem with the God worldview, period. So if I use logic, even if you think I'm borrowing from your worldview, my efforts will always be in vain. I will never succeed. And so all I'm saying is like, well, them's the breaks, kid. I'm going to use logic. And if it's the case that there's ever a problem, that's going to be a problem for you.
But you're presupposing you're basically saying there must be a defeater for the Christian God. Therefore, I'm going to do this. And that doesn't, you can't just say there must be. That's pretty much what you're saying. That's how I'm hearing it. No? So could there possibly not be a defeater for the Christian God?
Could there possibly not be a defeater?
Yeah. Could we possibly be right? Could our proposition possibly be correct?
Well, I obviously don't think so.
No, but I'm not asking if you think it's correct. I'm asking you if it's possible that it's correct.
If you're going to ask me if it's possible, it's always going to be about what I think.
Well,
you are asking.
Yeah, but we're talking about what you think is possible and impossible, not whether you think what you think about the proposition as far as true or false.
I think that the Christian view is impossible. I laid out an argument for why, just one.
How? Because you're saying, so essentially you're saying it can't be possible because something would have to instantiate it? Something would have to instantiate God's existence?
That's your concept of the concept of the Christian God by your lights. You sign off
What
on
is the
everything.
concept of the Christian God?
That he instantiates all possibility and impossibility. And
Yeah, except for
secondly,
himself.
that in order for something to exist, first it must be possible for it to exist.
But he substantiates everything but himself. He just is. When they ask
Well, then it's not
God what
true,
is
right?
your
But then
when they
it's
ask
not
God what is
true.
your name, he said I am. He just
Yeah.
is. He's the
That's
only
great.
and that's not viciously circular. It's
Look,
justified.
I
It's justified
never said
logically.
anything about that yet. You would just have to you would just have to deny the premise that God instantiates all possibility and impossibility. That's false to
But
you.
no, but he does. But that's not. You're not asking the question about his existence. You're saying, does God instantiate everything? Yes, he does. But it's a separate conversation when we're talking about what instantiates him. What I would
Well,
say
God
was
is
nothing
God is a is a thing in the set of all things.
within what?
All within the set of all things. God is a thing. So you would just have to.
I'm
So
not
all
sure
you
about
have to
that.
do. Oh, come on.
This is where you engage.
I'm not
is
saying
one
you're
of the
wrong.
things that exists
Well, I'm not saying
in the
you're
set
wrong.
of
I'm
all
just
things
saying
that
I'm not
exist.
sure about that.
Look,
there's
you would
an-
just have to.
question.
You could fix it. You just have to eject this whole thing about God instantiates all possibility and impossibility. You would just have to eject that.
I don't think so because it wouldn't make any sense if he wouldn't be able to do that if he was contingent upon something else.
Well, you don't. I
Well,
don't think
actually he
that's an
could.
option
No,
for you.
actually, yeah, no, actually he could, but it's not the case. He is not contingent upon anything else.
It
That's
seems
why he's
like
the ultimate.
syllogism has pointed that out,
What? Pointing what out?
that he is contingent on something instantiating him.
No, that's directly conflictual with the Bible and one of God's characteristics.
Then you just have to retract your agreements with P1, right?
That's right.
I mean, sure, if that like gives you some kind of victory, I don't know, but I mean, it doesn't get us to like the conclusion of our conversation. I may have
It's no-
answered
yeah.
incorrectly or something, but
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's just that like you were wrong about this fact about God. That's all.
yeah, or maybe we have like a different understanding of the question.
I mean, like I can make arguments like this. Like I could keep going. Do you want another one?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see.
Wait, can I just ask a question first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is this like valuable to you in any way? Or is this like just like waste of your time or like I feel like I'm getting something out of this. I'm just wondering.
Oh, we're all
Oh
getting
no,
something
I
out
think
of
it's
this.
valuable.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Especially if you're actually learning something, then that's even better.
Yeah.
Let's see. When Jesus died on the cross, was that sacrifice, that show of love? Did he show the greatest possible love by sacrificing himself on the cross?
What relevance does this have to like anything?
Well,
like I'm not like some biblical expert, so I don't.
Oh, you don't have to be. You can just analyze like the concept, aka conceptual analysis.
Does this like are you saying that whatever the answer to this question is could falsify the Christian God? Is that where you're gonna go with this?
Well, it's a premise, and I'm trying to be faithful to your concept of the Christian God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if
you're doing an internal critique, right?
If you don't think this is true, I'm going to try and import some of your beliefs, right? If it's the case that you don't think something is true, then I'm not going to present an argument to you where like you don't think this is true. Like if you say no to this, I'll just move on to some other argument, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the idea in Christianity is that to die for another is the greatest possible love.
Okay, yeah, now I know what you're talking about. I've seen that.
Yeah, I do think that is biblical.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be something like premise 1, and premise 2 would be something like God has all the great making attributes, including love, to their fullest extent, and God is not lacking in any of these attributes, correct?
Okay, yeah.
Right. Okay, so then the problem comes from prior to creation, there was no sacrifice. Therefore, God could
Prior to
not.
creation, there was no sacrifice.
Yeah, prior to creation, there's nothing.
Uh-huh.
Only God exists.
Yeah.
There is no sacrifice. Therefore, God was not able to instantiate the greatest form of love, which would be not lacking and to its fullest degree. And therefore, God would not exist.
Wait, what? How do you get from that just because he couldn't like instantiate? What principle is it that if you can't instantiate like the greatest form of love, that means like I don't understand. I'm confused.
Because the greatest love or the maximal
Yeah.
love, right,
Mm-hmm.
not lacking in love, would be a self-sacrificial love. And God, as in premise 2, has all those properties to their maximum extent.
And they're essential.
Right.
Yeah.
And so before creation, there was no sacrifice. Therefore, God couldn't have all those properties to their maximum extent, specifically the attribute of love. Therefore, that God does not exist. If that attribute is an essential attribute, he didn't have it. Therefore, he's not God.
So you're saying without that sacrifice, God wouldn't be all loving?
No, there is no sacrifice, right? In order
No, I
to
said
have
without the sacrifice, that God wouldn't be all loving.
without the sacrifice, would God be-
Without
Correct.
the sacrifice, God would not be all
not to
loving.
its
Is that what you're saying?
maximum, not to its maximum.
Well, doesn't all imply maximum? I mean, that's like you can use those words
Right.
interchangeably.
That's why you can't say all, because it wouldn't be maximum
Yeah, you
without a
can say that.
sacrifice. Right?
No, no. I see.
Without the sacrifice, it can't be maximum. Therefore, you can't say all. He's not all loving.
Well,
Doesn't
if
have
God
that essential
says that
property, therefore does not exist.
no, because this is how I would respond to this. I would say if God says he's all loving, he necessarily is, because he's the implementer of what is and what isn't. So he doesn't have to necessarily do something to be that thing. He just is automatically.
But
He defines because he defines what all loving is. There is no like universal understanding of what
and
all loving
and
is.
he
God defines it. Hold on one second.
Okay.
God defines and he says this thing is all loving. So in order for him to do that, he'd have to know what all loving already is.
Yeah,
And he would define
does.
it.
It's self-sacrificial.
Yeah, but just because he doesn't do that doesn't mean he doesn't like just because I don't die for my brother doesn't mean that I don't love him.
Well, then this is just another case where one of the premises you signed off on, now you're at odds with, you're just going to have to eject it.
Like
Well,
what?
you actually just answered your own thing. Yeah, just because you don't die for your brothers, yeah, sure, maybe he has love, but it's not all loving. It's not maximal love, and maximal love is the essential property, and it's lacking. Therefore, does not exist.
So I see what this internal critique thing is. It's like so you don't object to anything because then that would cause you to justify your worldview and state your grounds for objection. So you work within my worldview and within parameters to expose contradictions. Is that what it is?
That's right.
That's
Oh,
what
okay,
internal
awesome.
critique
Internal
is.
critique.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the
Okay,
way Bonson
cool.
says you ought to do it.
Yeah, no, I like I said, I've just started to read his book, so I'm not like
And
anywhere
Vento.
near an expert. Yeah, and this is really helping me. I guess I would just disagree that I think that, like I said, I think God would define what all loving is. He doesn't necessarily need to do anything because he implements what it is.
So
Well,
you think that
then-
God is
You know what I
defining
mean?
it as not
Then it-
sacrificial, not
But
all
then it doesn't
loving?
require having self-sacrifice.
No,
to the
he's
maximum
just
degree or whatever.
so he's just saying that this is the maximum love that
What
a
is?
human
He's saying
being
what
can
is?
exert. Dying for your friend. He's saying that
What's
as
the
humans,
maximal love that God can have then?
he is love. God is love.
What's the
maximal
love?
That's another can of worms.
Yeah, what's the maximal love that God?
What are you gonna
God
say?
has.
Because he like killed people or something?
No,
Well,
I'm
that's
saying when you
different.
say God is love, that's
Yeah. Well,
potentially
God is
very
everything.
problematic for
God
you.
defines like you like okay. For instance, like hate doesn't exist on its own. Hate doesn't have like an ontology. Like something has to implement what hate is and define it. If not, then it's just subjective. It's just like the
Look,
word
let
hate
me-
is just an abstraction. It's
I got
not
you. You're going
a
with
thing.
like the negative thing. Or I got you. But look, the point is that I mean I made an example with the property of being loving, right?
Mhm.
But that's just one property, right? Now you're actually going to have a problem with a lot of Jesus or God's other properties. For example,
Mhm.
God's merciful, right? He's maximally merciful. He's maximally merciful.
Yeah, because he defines what merciful is.
Problem is, before creation, who was he giving mercy to? It wasn't maximally merciful. He's maximally forgiving. Prior to creation, who was he forgiving? Nobody.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. I guess I don't see it that way. But I'm not saying that makes me right. But I just don't see the fact that he has to like do this thing in order to be this thing. Like he is just telling us what it would require to be that thing.
Well, you're actually your solutions is to try and say that like these great making properties are changing, right? And if
How
you're
so?
saying that God, well, you're saying he defines it this way at this time, and then later on, good is the greatest good is a different
I don't
thing.
think that's a fair representation of what I said.
That is a fair representation of what you said. That's
Okay,
your solution.
I disagree.
It's like
okay.
like prior to creation, good, maximally good, it's not the same as when he died on the cross. Maximally good at time T1 before creation is not the same as time T2 when he died on the cross. And if you're saying God is good or God is love, then you're saying that the attribute of love.
But do you know why he is?
Hold on a sec. Let me just finish. Then you're saying that the attribute of love has changed from T1 to T2. And if you're saying that God is love, then God has changed from time T1, T2. And now you're violating immutability in an effort to fix the problem.
Do you know why God is all loving?
No.
Because he says he is.
Ooh.
You understand the violation of
That's it.
Of immutability?
Isn't that beautiful?
Because he was all loving.
Him saying
Isn't
he
that
is merely
beautiful?
recording the fact.
But seriously,
which is true.
in my
Because he is, in
worldview, if
fact,
you're
all
doing an
loving.
internal critique, in my worldview, that is the case.
Yeah,
God is all loving, not for like some justification because of something. He just is because he says he is because
Right,
he
but can you-
implements all
For no
things, and
reason
we
at
have
all. Yeah.
and we
Can
have.
you-
Yeah, well. Hold on. Let me finish, please. We have no grounds as human beings to disagree with something he says because
Yeah, fine.
again, like for many reasons, but the most like natural reason I can give is because like we literally have an 8-pound brain. Like
Yeah,
we
fine.
literally can only see 3 dimensions.
Right.
You know,
but
like
can
we
you-
can't even see into a fourth. Can I hold on? Just can I finish, please? We
Sure.
can't even
let me
see
hold on a sec. Let me take my roll up newspaper. JJ, I'm smacking you right on your snout. I'm smacking you with the rolled up newspaper right on your snoot. Okay? Bad boy. Stop it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't mind if people ask me questions, but please just, and I know sometimes I interrupt too, and I apologize, but I try not to. So yeah, if I could just finish, but now I lost my train of thought. So, no, wait, I got it.
8-pound brain.
Yeah, 8-pound brain, and I was saying that like we can only see in 3 dimensions. So for us, if we assert that God is this thing that exists outside of time, space, and matter, he's omnipotent, right? Like, how can I be like I mean, we like what we call it in our servers. We'll say like you're being a megalomaniac. Like you're saying that like you're coming from your position as a human and judging this all powerful thing and saying what you did was wrong. Like if like the flood, you know, people try to bring up the flood and say like, oh, you know, killing innocent people, like that's wrong. And it's like I don't think you guys would do this because you know that's like, well, you guys wouldn't do that, right?
No.
You know that's like not gonna. You're gonna get smoked if you do that. But you know, some people will try to do that, so I won't even continue because you already know it. So go ahead, ask your
Pretty
question.
low tier. Yeah, I just wanted you to understand that you're giving up then this another essential property of immutability.
Wait, first of all, what is immutability?
Unchangeability, not changing, never changes.
Mm-hmm. So I'm giving up this form of God that doesn't change as far as what the all-loving thing are you referring to? What are you referring to?
It's just another typical property of God, that God never changes.
God is unchanging. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've given that up
How?
because what God considers maximal love or all loving changes.
Oh well,
It
I mean, we
becomes
can
it
go.
becomes more it becomes more maximal.
Okay.
Becomes more all, but all you don't get more all.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just disagree. But
You think
again, I mean, you have
you
your
think
point. I mean, I've heard it.
You can
so
get
this is
more all.
so this is kind of like if you have say you interpret it as infinite love. God has infinite love. Sometimes it's described that way, that all loving is infinite power, infinite love. And if you add more to that, what? It's more?
Why are you saying we're adding more? I don't know where that's coming in.
Well, we were talking about what all loving is. And the maximal love requires sacrifice. But it didn't happen.
No.
Part of the
So I think
creation.
again, I think you have. And
Later
again,
on,
we can.
later
Sorry,
on,
I thought you were
there
done.
was a
Sorry.
sacrifice. And then that was maximal love
Yeah.
or all loving.
Well, look, I don't want to keep circling the drain on this. I hear you. I understand exactly what you're saying. What my rebuttal to that is, and I'll state it one more time, is that that is what God is telling us. That's how we as human beings can exert all ultimate love, or however you guys would put it, all loving, right? That's how we could do that. He's not placing that requirement on himself. He's saying that I am God, and I define this for you guys as this thing. So, for instance, like murder, right? So he's saying, I am God, and I define this as murder, and this is a sin.
This
But
is
that
beside
doesn't
the
mean.
point, though.
Okay, how so?
Well, we're talking about properties of God. God defines all loving for himself. Fine. We're talking about all loving being a property of God, not how we could be all loving, which I think is actually impossible.
So, are you trying to
Under a
say?
typical Christian worldview, that humans cannot be all loving. Only God can be all loving. So that
Okay, so let me try to.
all this about defining it for us is irrelevant.
So let me try to understand what you're saying. So you're saying God says he's all loving. So in order for me as a person to understand what that means, I have to look and see how does God tell us it's defined? God tells us it's defined by sacrificing yourself for your friend. And you're saying that because God never did that, he doesn't meet the criterion of his definition.
His own definition, right?
Do I have your argument correct?
Pretty sure.
Okay. So yeah, so I would have I understand what you're saying. It's interesting, but I would have the same objection. I would say that God is all loving. He doesn't need to do anything. He is telling, because like he's implementing the definition, right? So how could he know the definition of all loving if he's not already all loving? How would he know what that is?
Maybe he doesn't. That's a problem for you, not for me.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So that's, I think that's circling the drain on that. But look,
Yeah, it's hand waving. That's a problem.
let me just ask.
Presented to you, and you just ignore it.
Well, I mean, we think the same thing about you guys, so I mean, we could go back and forth on that all day. But I'm trying to be ultra productive here. So if anything, if we could at least understand each side of our arguments, and we can part as, okay, I understand. Like now, I understand exactly your argument. So I think that's good. That's progress. Look. Let's be honest. You're not going to convince me that God doesn't exist. I'm not going to convince you God doesn't exist. So that's why I was asking you before. Like, are you guys getting something out of this? Oh,
Well,
really?
why would you
open that
convince us
you
that
could be
God doesn't
convinced.
exist?
Why would I want to convince you? Because I love you? Like, I don't understand.
He's
That he
pointing out
doesn't exist?
You misspoke again.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
all.
it just yeah. But what I have done is like just this claim that that goes around, that atheists will not or have nothing or can't present a rational line of reasoning that's rational, that God does not exist. That's false. I've done that just on the fly today.
Okay. Well, let me just say one last thing, and then I actually have to get going.
Is it? How do you know that?
No.
That's good. Thank you.
No. I hope that we can cultivate some kind of good relationship. Tom, let me ask you. I wanted to ask you: are you able to come in the politics server, or are you like banned?
I think I am. However, considering that I once joined and was kicked out, and basically at any time Darth could come along and kick me out. I'm not going to have any discussions with you in there where Darth is like has dominion or whatever. That's just not.
Well, how about this? I'm a mod in the Theist experience. So let me talk to Foxy. If Foxy gives the okay, would you and Darth is not there? Would you be willing to come on the Theist experience and then talk to me on there? Just because like I came to your home court and then you can come to mine.
You've received much better treatment than I would ever receive.
Well, but you never interacted with me, and I'll be modding. So and at least I think it would be fair just to try it once. If you feel like it was unfair, if you feel like whatever, then never again. But I think if I've come here, you've shown me the courtesy of your home. At least give me the chance to, because you've never interacted with me. So don't like love me in with other people.
But however, that is Foxy's room. And I heard you talking to him about an hour ago when he called me a fucking idiot or something like that. And fucking.
Well, I think he called you yeah, he doesn't like you very much.
Yeah, and then he misrepresented something.
Well, he said you're a solipsist.
I don't think he said that.
Isn't that what he said?
From what he said, even just less than an hour ago, maybe. I have no reason to really go into a place like that. I would be stupid to expect fair treatment. Plus, Foxy is one of the most biased and abusive mods that there is.
And dishonest.
Did he call you a softist or a sophist?
I think it was sophist.
I think he called me a piece of shit.
Well, he like consistently says you like worship the devil.
Do you care what people say about you online? Who cares? These people are irrelevant.
No, it's not that. That's not that I care in that way. It's just that that's indicative of how I can expect to be treated, right?
It's just unfairly. He's very dishonest. He's honestly, he's not as smart as you. I can clearly tell that.
K-Son,
I appreciate it.
You know that I've recorded. You know that I commonly record.
Of course.
Not all the times, but
Are you gonna do a video on me, Tom? I want to be famous.
Yes, I will.
Okay. Yes.
And you know that I see how you guys moderate. I see how Foxy moderates, and frankly, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we keep it pretty because, I mean, I just don't think that. I just haven't had any atheists. Well, I mean, I guess I'd be tooting my own horn, but I feel like at least I was respectful with you guys. I disagreed, but I would just state my disagreement, and let me just preface this by saying I understand sometimes people that are even respectful and kind and whatever. Like sometimes, some people pull the trigger a little fast. I've done it before too. Sometimes I'm having a bad day and I just pull the trigger fast. I mean, it happens, but I don't even know where I was going with that.
There's no excusing Foxy or Darth or anyone else in that group.
Yeah, but do you think Tom would be treated as well as you've been treated over here if he went over there?
I don't know. I think if I was modding, I just don't know. I've never seen Tom in there. I mean, I understand why you might why you might deduce that or, induct that. I understand, but I don't know. I mean, I've seen plenty of interactions that we have been fair with people and we parted as friends. But like, look, Tom, mathematician, like he comes in there and says the dumbest things, and then he runs, and then he obfuscates. Like he's not like you. Like honestly, I have a lot of respect for you guys because at least you guys give like good arguments. These people come in there and they just waste their time, and they just we'll back them into a corner. And then they'll say, oh no, that doesn't make any sense. Evidence, right? Like JJ will come in there. You guys know JJ, right? Like he'll come in there and say something stupid about evidence. It's like,
who is this other JJ?
Time.
Yeah, that stupid JJ boy.
Who is this person? I don't like his name.
JJ are friends. Oh, JJ. It's like JCC something. I don't know. look, let's do this again. I understand what you're saying, Tom. I totally do.
JCC Smart.
He's
You
talking
know,
about
maybe-
Pauletta.
Oh.
Maybe
I was talking about
maybe
Pauletta.
one day I can convince you to come over there. At least just give it one go. If you don't
Yeah,
like it,
I
you know, you
mean-
can always leave. But
Yeah, I'll
know.
just tell you, like, you were a little bit more aggressive
Hey,
yesterday. Today you were less aggressive, which I like. I think we actually had some of the best conversations, like of the day at least, with you. And I mean, like, I'm not gonna say that I'll rule out going over there. I definitely have a certain expectation.
Mhm.
But I'm probably gonna have to sit on it maybe. And like, look, you gotta understand, the second that Darth comes in, I'm gone.
Yeah,
You know
it's
that,
over.
right? So
Yeah.
why would I? What's the point? You know?
Yeah. Can you at least say
Okay.
can you at least say on record, Darth is hilarious? Can we at least just all admit that? Darth is
Oh,
hilarious.
No, I don't find him
Please.
fucking. I don't
He's
find
a
him. I don't
funny
find him
guy,
fucking.
man.
I don't find him fucking hilarious at all.
Well, I find him
Sometimes-
hilarious,
sometimes
but
he is
it
funny.
might be a
Dude.
completely different sense of hilarious
Oh,
than
okay.
you
Yeah.
guys.
I just feel like he's like an
If by
enigma.
hilarious
Like,
he deserves a
is
hockey
a
stick in the
legend.
fucking head, then yeah, he's hilarious.
All right.
I actually think he is funny sometimes. Just like
He
Well,
is
that's
hilarious, man.
Yeah, you guys are just
That's
Do
hilarious.
you
wonderful.
care that he
One second.
like actually drives people away from Christianity?
I think he's brought some people to Christianity. I mean, we've had like 7 converts over the past couple months.
7
I mean,
whole converts.
Wait a minute, one
Oh
second.
my!
hey,
heavens.
it's hard,
You-
okay?
Dubious.
You try doing it.
Dubious.
Of
I
these
bet you.
7
I bet.
converts,
I bet you if he wasn't setting fire to fucking people all the time, he might have a better chance of more converts.
Oh,
of
man.
these 7 converts, though, are they? What do you think of them? Are they just atheists that got sick of being beaten down by what typically, well, sophistry? Because if
honestly-
anybody's a sophist, it's Darth Dawkins. And I think we pointed that out yesterday, actually.
Yeah. I mean, look.
By the way,
I would say
I'll give you a little secret. That argument about the before creation thing, that's Darth's argument that he uses against Muslims. He just, instead of loving or merciful or forgiving like I used, he just substitutes relational. But the same argument bodies Christianity.
That's crazy.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, you do. We're telling you.
Tom,
Yeah,
you're the
I'm
king
not
of Uno
focused on-
reverse.
Yeah. Well, look, I had a great time. Thank you guys for being fair with me. I appreciate it. Now, hopefully, you know that when I come in here, I'm not gonna, spaz out or anything, and I can try to be as fair as possible. And look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to convert any of you. I understand that, but I think it's interesting to have the conversation. You sharpen my blade, I sharpen your blade, and it's amicable for both of us.
You shouldn't think that. You should have hope.
Cool.
I
right,
do have
Kissan.
hope, but I am a bit of a realist. So
Let the guy go.
yeah. All right. Thanks,
man,
guys.
see ya.
Have a good night.
Take it easy, man.
Did you catch that, Tom Rabbit? Hope you upload that to YouTube.